Yo, what's going on, Clutch Crew Sports fans? It's Eric, your ranting co-host here, and I'm coming back at you with another episode, another NFL 2022 season preview, and this episode is going to be featuring the Miami Dolphins. As always, I'm going to talk about the key moves that were made in the offseason by Miami, what I liked, what I didn't like. I'll talk about the key storylines for them, and then at the end, I'll kind of do a brief run through their schedule and just kind of talk about overall what kind of season I expect Miami to have. So, with that being said, let's get right into it here. So, first of all, if you're looking at the right side of the screen here where I've got key departures, I've got a big old none written here. And I don't really think Miami lost anybody that was too significant. So, that's definitely a good thing for them. They obviously got better, especially if you look at their key additions over here. They definitely made a lot of big moves, and so I'll break these down here for you. We'll start with the obvious one, which is going to be Tyreek Hill, acquiring him in a trade from the Kansas City Chiefs. This was definitely something I don't think too many people expected going into the offseason. I don't think people thought Tyreek Hill was going to leave the Chiefs, but they weren't able to come to an agreement on their extension, and so then he wanted out. And Miami happily scooped him up in a trade. Gave up a lot to get him, but I think it's definitely going to be worth it. I mean, Tyreek Hill is one of the most electric receivers in the league. I mean, he's one of those guys, when he gets the ball in open space, I mean, it could be a touchdown every time. I mean, he's arguably the fastest wide receiver in the NFL. If not, it's close. So I think this is going to be a huge, huge impactful move for Miami. And then also on the offensive line, I like that they brought in Terron Armstead, the veteran tackle from the Saints. Overall, I don't love Miami's offensive line still coming into the season, but I think Terron Armstead's going to be a big help for them. I mean, they've got a lot of young guys on the O-line, and Armstead's been a captain for the Saints, and I just expect him to bring a great leadership role to that offensive line. And so because of that, like I said, I don't love Miami's offensive line, but I think they're going to be better than they were last season, which is important. And then looking down here on the bottom, they made a lot of moves at running back. They kept Myles Gaskin, but they pretty much got rid of everybody else. And then they brought in Chase Edmonds, Sony Michel, and Raheem Mostert. And I think this is a sign going forward of what Miami's offensive identity is going to be this season. I will talk about that a little more in the storylines, but I think this was a great move bringing in all these guys. You've got a lot of veterans here. All these guys are experienced. They're all capable. None of these guys are, necessarily elite running backs per se, but these are all guys that can get the job done. They've got a variety of different skill sets. And, between the four of them, I mean, this is obviously going to be a running back by committee, but probably not anybody I'll draft in fantasy football per se, but I think these are guys that can get the job done, and they're going to be a big part of Miami's offense going forward. So, looking at their storylines here, I mean, the most important one, the most obvious one, is going to be about Tua at quarterback, and it's just going to be, can he take that next step? There were a lot of rumors about him getting traded during his second season, and then there were rumors that, he could get traded going into the offseason, but, Miami's management and the organization, they've stuck with him, and they're giving him another chance. And for me, though, personally, I'm not a big believer of Tua. I'm not sold on him yet. But I understand why the organization gave him another chance. He only had played his second season. His rookie year, he kind of split time with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He didn't play the whole season, and then the second season, obviously he played, but since he didn't play his whole rookie season, I mean, he still hasn't had a ton of time yet. So I understand. You spend your number 5 overall pick in the draft on a guy, you don't want to give up on him that soon. You want to give him another chance. And I think Miami did a great job bringing in a lot of talent around him. So this is going to be like the no excuse year for Tua. I mean, this is his last chance, don't get me wrong. I recently did a video on the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's kind of interesting how similar their situations are. They both have a young quarterback out of Alabama. They both have young wide receivers that they played with in college, between Devontae Smith for the Eagles and the Jalen Waddle for Miami. And then both of those teams brought in an elite wide receiver to pair with those young receivers. With Miami getting Tyreek Hill, they brought in Terron Armstead, like I talked about. They brought in all these running backs. They still have Mike Gesicki at tight end. So Miami did a great job of putting a lot of talent around Tua. So it's put up or shut up time for him. Like, he has to prove that he can take the next step. If he can't do it with all these guys they brought in, then he's obviously not the guy. But with the talent they brought in, maybe he takes that next step. So I'm definitely curious about that. Miami will be a team I'll be watching, especially because of that. I'm very curious about Tua and if he can elevate his game. And then, kind of like what I was talking about with the running backs earlier, I wanted to wait a little bit, and then this is where I'm going to kind of tie it in now. It's just with, the Miami Dolphins have a new head coach in Mike McDaniel. And, obviously anytime somebody comes in and a new head coach for a team, you always wonder how they're going to do. And I think by bringing in all these running backs, I think the Dolphins are going to become a very run-heavy team. And then I think then with Tyreek Hill, I think their plan is to use him on a lot of play action. Get the DBs to bite, hit Tyreek Hill deep. I mean, it's a good recipe. I know, like, being run-heavy is a little more boring per se to a lot of people, but I like when teams have a good running attack, and when they don't just force it down the field every play or just specifically rely on passing. I love when teams can be balanced, and when teams don't know what you're going to do, and when you run the ball a lot and establish the running game, you can hit that play action and they don't know what to expect. So I like that. I think that's the identity that Mike McDaniel is going to go for. And I also just like his situation a lot better versus a lot of these other coaches that come in. Because, I mean, most of the time when a team has to bring in a new head coach, it's because they don't have much talent, or the team wasn't very good. They were losing a lot. But with Mike McDaniel, he's in a bit of a different situation here. He came into a team that already had some good talent on it, and then they were able to bring in even more in the offseason. So he's in a very favorable situation here. I like the spot for him. I like the fit. I think, when you don't have an elite quarterback, you can't go wrong with having a good running game. It only makes it easier for the quarterback. And that kind of makes Tua just have to be more of a game manager versus, go out there and carry the team to wins. Because I don't think Tua is ready to be in that kind of a role yet. But so now, with all that being said, we're going to look at the schedule. And if you look at Miami's schedule, from top to bottom, they've got a pretty tough schedule overall. It's mainly tough in the beginning of the season, and then in the end of the season, and then in the middle, more so like where their bye week is, they get more of a break with some more winnable games. And I just don't know. Like, looking at Vegas's projected odds, they've got Miami at 9 games. And my prediction is that they're going to push that. I could see them going 9-8. If I had to lean one way over or under, I would probably lean over. But my concern is Tua. That's the only thing that's holding me back. But I mean, if you look at their early games, they've got divisional games with the Patriots and Bills, and the Jets, all in their first 5 games. And the Jets definitely got better. I don't know how good they will be. Zach did a preview for them already. And then Connor's done his preview for the Buffalo Bills already. The Bills are definitely going to be an extremely tough matchup. The Bengals are going to be tough. I mean, these first 7 games, they've got 3/4 of the AFC North, and then 3/4 of their division, and then the Vikings. And that's going to be tough. And that's been a problem for Miami in the past, is getting off to these slow starts. And in the NFL, it's just so difficult to overcome that. I mean, when you're constantly starting off your seasons like, 1-6 or 2-5, it's very difficult to get back in the playoffs. It's not like NBA or NHL or baseball, where those seasons have so many games where if you start off 2-5, it's not necessarily the end of the world. I mean, you can't do that in football if you want to be a playoff contending team. You've got to get off to a strong start. And I think in these, this middle section where more of their favorable games are, if they can get off to a, 5-2 start, or even just like a 4-3 start, and then if they win most of these favorable games, then they're in a better position, going into this later stretch of the season. So, but like I said, I think 9 is a pretty good sweet spot number for Miami. The AFC is just so hard in general as a whole, but their division is pretty hard now as well. I mean, New England made the New England Patriots almost made, or they made the playoffs last year, while Miami almost made the playoffs. The Bills, are looking like a dominant team. The Jets are up and coming. The Jets are definitely going to want to try to at least steal one of these games against the Dolphins. And then they're playing the AFC North, which is a tough division. And then they've also got the Chargers and Packers. They've got, it's a tough schedule here. And with me not believing in Tua, it's just hard to imagine them getting more than 9 wins. But, if he's able to just be a game manager, and if the defense can step up and, these weapons get involved and help Tua out, then they could win more. But I'm just not sold on Tua, which is my biggest problem here. Everything else I think on Miami is good. I just worry about Tua. So that's going to be my thoughts on the Miami Dolphins. Those are my predictions. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. I'm definitely open to any criticism. And if you're watching this and we haven't covered your team yet, don't worry, we will. We are getting through them. And like I said, by the time the NFL season starts, we will have covered all 32 teams. And Zach's got more college conference previews coming, and we're still doing the weekly podcast talking about different topics. Like we recently talked about KD and Kyrie with the whole, NBA free agency and trading dilemma. So we've just been covering a lot. We've been working hard. We've noticed that our subscriber count has gone up significantly and our viewership's going up. So, to all of our new viewers, thank you. We really appreciate it. We hope you keep coming back and checking us out. 'Cause like I said, we've been working pretty hard and, trying to get as much content out there as possible. So, all right, guys, well, that's going to wrap it up. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you for watching. And with that being said, peace.